Welcome everybody to Christus Trinity Mother Francis Rose Stadium for the debut broadcast of the ETFS RoadShow, sponsored by ETFinalScore.com. I'm Chris Perry. I got my colleague Travis Yoasting. We have sports editor Phil Hicks, and this is the first time, guys, that we're going to be doing this every single week. I'm excited. This is going to be kind of a live, interactive thing that we're going to be doing pre-game, halftime show, post-game show. And guys, what do you think about it?
I think it's great. You know, what better way to start this off than JT and Robert E. Lee game with everything that's on the line, with the district title, with the home playoff game, with the all-time series maybe getting tied up. You know, it's going to be a lot of fun.
I think with Texas high school football, it's always a big show, so why not do a road show? I think this is going to be great for fans. They can watch it on their phone in the stands or at home if they can't make the game, but I think it's a really exciting new avenue that we can bring to our readership and our viewers.
Yeah, for three journalists to get a chance to kind of do a little foray into broadcasting and be live on site. Usually we're up in a press box covering the game, but tonight, well, Travis is going to be up in the press box covering the game. Tonight we have the TISD Athletic Hall of Fame ceremony taking place before kickoff, which is scheduled for 7:45 here at the stadium. Gentlemen, and we also have the ETFS hashtag ETFS Roadshow. Go to that, go to Twitter, hit us up with anything you want, and we'll be able to talk about it here on our live broadcast. Guys, I'm excited about just the opportunities that we're going to have to go to different stadiums every single week, and we're starting it off perfectly.
That's right. You know, we've got this set on the back of the trailer. We can take it wherever we want, whether we follow around JT, whether we go hit up White House, Lindell, you know, whatever the big game is of the week. And like I said, it can't get much bigger in Tyler than John Tyler and Robert E. Lee.
Yeah, you know, high school football in Texas, there's no, you know, you have your pro ball in college, which is huge, but there's nothing like in the U.S. Friday Night Lights in Texas. So that's be different angles to bring to the viewers and readers.
Well, guys, that's we're pretty much excited. It's going to be a very exciting night. But we're going to take you to our first sponsor, which is Mole Masters, and we'll be right back.
Mole Masters is excited to be the presenting sponsor of the 2016 ETFinalScore.com Roadshow. Mole Masters is a professional, local, family-owned pest control company that is here to serve you. Contact us at 903-287-0999 to tackle mosquitoes, moles, gophers, armadillos, or any other pests. Mole Masters is your #1 defense and will help you take your yard back. Call us today at 903-287-0999.
We're back live, guys, and John Tyler, Robert E. Lee, this series has been going on forever, and this is a big one because if Robert E. Lee wins tonight, they'll actually tie the all-time series. Phil, you have been to so many of these games, you've been a part of so many of these games. What does the Rose City rivalry mean to you?
Well, number one, I love the fact that, you know, it's red and blue, the colors of the city, and just the way they interact on the field. And, you know, some of these guys grew up together. They might have went to school together. You know, it's different than it used to be where you were on different sides of town. It seems like everybody's know each other, they're friends, and it just means a great deal to the city, to the communities of both Tyler. They really embrace this game.
Travis, you've had a chance to kind of cover these games the last couple of years now that you covered John Tyler. Talk to me about just what have your experiences have been.
You know, it's always a lot of fun, you know, playing your crosstown rival, and the fact that all these kids, they know each other. You know, they've played with each other, either against each other or with each other, growing up through football, basketball, every other sport you can imagine, and it all kind of culminates in this game. You know, it's all a build-up to this game, especially when you're a senior. You know, playing against your rival on Rose Stadium, Earl Campbell Field, and it doesn't get any better than this.
I've been a part of a few of these games. It's really since 2004, 2005, and guys, they seem to, you never can pick them. I mean, every time you think that you have it zeroed in who's going to win this ball game, the other team wins. I mean, there's been more than a couple times John Tyler was highly favored and Robert E. Lee won this game. There's been times when Robert E. Lee came in with a bunch of momentum and John Tyler had kind of taken care of it. Travis, first for you, in the last couple games, what have you kind of seen that has turned the tide one way or the other?
Well, like you said, you know, records go out the window when these two play. You know, a couple years ago, JT came into this game ranked #1 in the state and just blew a 14-point lead at halftime and lost the game. And last year with Lee coming out, getting hot on offense and putting up 69 points on JT, you just never know what's going to happen, and that's what a good rivalry is. It's not one-sided. It's always competitive, and that's what you like to see. This year, I think it could be the same. Yeah, JT can clinch a district title with a win, but with Lee, they've been so close. You never know; they might steal a win.
Phil, I've seen a lot of these games. You've seen way more of these games than me. I've been a part of quite a few of them. What are some of the games that really stick out in your mind when you talk about this series?
The first one that I really remember was in 1971. I was, I think, in elementary school, so it looked like it was going to be a 14-14 tie. That was 4 overtime or any of that. And Lee threw a long pass, and they scored with just a few seconds left to win 20-14. And then that really set the rivalry off, because before JT had kind of dominated the series, and then Lee got a little close. And then another game I remember is in '72, the next year. Earl Campbell was a junior, and unfortunately him and some of his teammates skipped school, and Coach Corky Nelson said the team's what matters. And I know Earl said over the years that really made him focus after that. So they were suspended for the game, but JT won anyway, 6-0. And Earl really said that was part that gave him the goal and the focus to do what he did later on.
So many amazing players have played in this series, starting with Earl Campbell. I mean, Matt Flynn, who's going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. We've seen Greg Ward, who's at the University of Houston just recently. I mean, any more games that jump out at you? Well,
some of the players you mentioned is Chris Carter was in NFL, Morris Anderson, and then of course Aaron Ross, a 2-time Super Bowl champion, and he also won a national championship at Texas. And there's other players. Even my tennis coach in high school, he played center for John Tyler back in '65, and he went on to Rice and got it. So football gives you the avenue to get these academic scholarships or athletic scholarships. But another game that stands out was in 1985. This was when Lee was starting to really build their program. Chad Parker was a quarterback that year for Lee. I was covering Lee then, and they scored a last-second touchdown to go up 21-20, and it looked like the Red Raiders were going to win. But they kicked off to the JT. Fred Green fielded the ball. I was on the sideline at that time. I remember it very vividly. He catches the ball and just is hammered by the Red Raiders, and he fumbles. And while Lee thought the game was over, Lumpy Wickware, who I believe his son now plays for Lee, Ladarius, picked up the ball, went all the way around, weaved through the Lee sideline because they were on the field, and scored a touchdown, and JT wins 27-21.
So it was our own personal. The band is on the field.
Right, exactly. Except it was the coaching staff and the players were on the field. It was quite a sight.
What was the crowd like in that game?
Oh, it was overflowed. As you can see, this in the background, the hill. There were not trees there then, and so it was filled every game on the bowl enclosure. That's why there was thought maybe someday that they would put seats there as well, and maybe they will someday. But that was really a big time then. Also, back then there were not as much TV on college games or pro. Now you got pros, college every day, and I think it's distracted somewhat from the crowds.
I have heard that the game used to be on Saturday in about a decade or so ago, and it brought everybody together in the afternoons.
That was a really good idea by Billy Hall, who was the AD at the time, because there's a side note there were some before the game there would be flags and some fights and things like that, and they thought they could control it more being on a Saturday afternoon, and things have since calmed down since then. So they went back to playing on Friday. I guess especially when JT dropped down to 5A, and now they're back in 6A now.
Right. Well, guys, the thing that I love is that as we're sitting here, we're going to start seeing fans filter in, cheerleaders, bands, teams. We've already got fans out tailgating outside. You can smell the meats just on the grill. Fans are talking back and forth. It's all really good banter. It's always a terrific atmosphere to be at this game. and we're just excited to be we're excited to be a part of it. And I talked to Danny Palmer, coach of Tyler Junior College, and he gave us some of his thoughts about this game, and he's been a part of. And he really surprised with all the different information and history he knew about the game, and we're going to show you that interview right now.
Well, of course, growing up in Tyler, and as a young kid, you saw the early version of it when it was still really, really bitter then. It was bitter rivalry. You just didn't miss it. It was talked about all week. Broadway was the Robert E. Lee students would get in their cars and hang out the rebel flag, and then the John Tyler deal was to steal a rebel flag. That was your goal, to steal a rebel flag and keep it in your room, and win the war. Times have changed with the rebel flag, the cannon, the Big Bad John, and Flush That John, and then I can remember Rose Stadium. There was no room left even on the hill. Okay, you still had the rim, but on that where it's grass now, that was still pretty well filled. And the little side hills where how the stadium was built, it was packed too. And it was always played around Halloween. It was always played around the Halloween weekend because the season started later when we were in high school. So football season went into your last weekend sometimes was the Thanksgiving weekend. So I was lucky enough to play in the game, and we scored a touchdown, and I got to score the touchdown on a quarterback sneak, and we won 7-0. And we ended up co-champs with Texarkana. The next year, threw a pass to Robbie Albright for a touchdown, and they called us for holding on an extra point, so they penalized us. Back then, a holding penalty was 15 yards. So I found him over the middle for a 2-point. We won the game 8-0.
Okay.
And then the next year, we really had the best football team, but we had to play against people like Thomas Clyde, who's, of course, kin to Calvin Clyde and Nelson Clyde. Thomas was a running back. Dean Bailey was a little bitty quarterback. And Larry Tunnell was a great player, and they outplayed us. And Dickie Arnold kicked a 32-yard field goal, and they held us off and upset us 3-0 and cost us the district championship because we had the best team in the district. And it's just, I'm glad I was a part of it. And when I became head coach at Texarkana, I still kept up with it because back then John Tyler was really, really strong.
Gotcha.
And in the 70s with Earl Campbell, and in that period just existed throughout the 70s. John Tyler was a dominant football team, so was Longview. But it's probably, they can talk about Marshall and Longview rivalry, maybe being longer in this area, but the Robert E. Lee, John Tyler rivalry, of course, if you grew up in it and you witnessed it and you saw it from the very beginning to like it is now, I still think it's great for high school football. And it's really spirited game. And there's been a lot of upsets back and forth. You would think John Tyler's going to win, Robert E. Lee would upset him, and then Robert E. Lee had a real good team and John Tyler would win the game. And it will continue to be that. I think it's good. I think it's good and wholesome. I think it's always been very well. The handshakes take place. Of course, kids play football different than they did back when I played in high school. There's a little taunting going on. There's a little, but it's fun to watch. And I like the two coaches. I think they're doing a real good job with their kids. Well, I think Robert E. Lee got a little momentum from how they played last week, and those kids really came back and played well. And I think Ricklin Holmes teams have always, they cover every detail. I've seen their practices. He covers every detail in the kicking game, and they create a lot of turnovers with their defense. And of course, they got a lot of speed. But I really like Robert E. Lee. I like the way their kids fight. And it's tough that first year, but I see a lot of promise in Robert E. Lee's football, and it really doesn't make any difference. They're going to battle until somebody makes a turnover or loses field position. So you never know in this rivalry. And John Tyler's got a lot of talent, but Lee's a young team, and Both of them are well coached. It'll be a lot of fun to see. It's going to be a great crowd.
ETFinalScore.com has East Texas high school sports covered. And now you can take it with you. Get the latest scores from Friday Night Football, articles and videos. Focus in on Dotney photo galleries and more. So don't miss a thing and get your ETFinalScore.com app.
Mole Masters is excited to be the presenting sponsor of the 2016 ETFinalScore.com Roadshow. Mole Masters is a professional, local, family-owned pest control company that is here to serve you. Contact us at 903-287-0999 to tackle mosquitoes, moles, gophers, armadillos, or any other pests. Mole Masters is your #1 defense and will help you take your yard back. Call us today at 903-287-0999.
Plenty of memories with the Robert E. Lee John Tyler series, which is now 30-29-1 in John Tyler's favor. Robert E. Lee has a chance to tie the series. And we were talking so much about just these games. And Phil, I know you had a couple more games that you thought that we needed to talk about just because they were just fantastic finishes.
Yeah, it's the tie game in 1990. It was 0-0, and I think Lufkin fans are still angry about that because JT was already in the playoffs. This is Alan Wilson back then, and it was coach, and they ended up, and Lee needed a tie or a win to get in the playoffs. Well, Lufkin fans think their brother-in-law did and just played a 0-0 tie, so Lee got into the playoffs. And then later on, in 1998, there was a double overtime game, really great game. It was very cold that day, rainy. It was freezing, and it went to double overtime, and JT had to win to get into the playoffs. And Lee was already in this time, and JT won 34-28. And finally, the reason why you see this, well, I can still call it AstroTurf, but I guess it's field turf, is the 2000 game. It was a mud. Actually, it was just all dirt, mud, whatever you want. And Lee won 6-0. So after that game, they said, hey, we need to get some turf. And that's why there were so many playoff games in Tyler. And, of course, the Texas College and Tyler Junior College also use the field, so they get a number of. It's been a moneymaker for the TISD.
One of our former colleagues, Brett Hone, actually played in that game, and he's told us on several occasions how crazy it was, how just your feet were sinking into the field. You could get absolutely no traction. But he also said it was also one of the more enjoyable games he's played because everybody loves to play in the mud. Yeah. Guys, the TISD Athletic Hall of Fame is taking place tonight. This will be the 4th class. So many amazing people have already been inducted into the TISD Athletic Hall of Fame. And Phil, we've got some terrific names. I'm just going to kind of read them out, and then I'll let you, if you want to talk a little bit about them. Of course, it begins with Matt Flynn, who's the Robert E. Lee quarterback, went on to play and lead LSU to a national championship. Mr. SEC over here, Texas A&M graduate Travis Yosti. And basically, first of all, let's talk about Matt. And then he goes on to the NFL and the Packers. And I still remember the game when he beat Dallas, when Dallas thought they had the huge victory. in the second half, he leads them all the way back and they win the game. Talk to me about Matt Flynn, guys.
Yeah, well, Matt, he really got Lee on the statewide. In the past, it was always John Toller known as the state power. But Matt really got, when he became, you could tell that he was going to be a pro quarterback someday. And he got Lee deep into the playoffs. And what I remember most about Matt was his senior year, he had a broke bone in his foot, but he still played in 4 playoff games to show how tough he is, mentally tough. And he got the Red Raiders to the semifinals, and I believe it was they lost a triple overtime to the Woodlands, if I think it's right. But and then the next year, Lee went on. It kind of built that momentum, and Lee won the state title in 2004 on the quarterback hill then. But Matt was really the one that got going, and you could just tell that he was going to be very successful, whatever he wanted to do. And then, like you say, he went to LSU, was an MVP of the Peach Bowl when they beat Miami 40-3, and then the next year they won the, I believe it was Ohio State they defeated, I believe, and he won. He was the MVP of that game also, and then he was a backup to Aaron Rodgers for a while, but he would step in, and when Rodgers was out, he led him to victory, and he has a Super Bowl ring too.
I was like, how many guys would have a Super Bowl ring?
And what do you remember about Matt Flynn in the JT Lee rivalry?
Well, if I remember right, he was 3-0 in it. I was trying to remember. I think he played some his sophomore year, but his junior and senior year, he just he really stepped up because his dad played quarterback at John Toller. So I bet there was a few discussions there about that. But and then he really shined in the series, and that was when both Lee and JT had just super teams, and I mean they were 2 of the best in the state. So that and of course they went to different divisions then, but that was he really showed what he had then.
Gentlemen, I always talk about that a rivalry. You can't have a rivalry unless both teams win on both sides. I mean, before I came to Tyler, I was in Central Texas. It was Brownwood-Stephenville, which was a rivalry, but it really wasn't until Stephenville started winning. Brownwood kind of dominated that thing. This seems to be like this has grown into a really good rivalry now that both teams are, I mean, Phil, you said like for years it was just so one-sided. Was it still as big a game even though John Tyler seemed like they always had the upper hand?
Yeah, there was always a big show. You know, you had the red and white and the blue and white, the Brigadettes and the Southern Bells, and Lee used to have a cannon, which was really cool. They would fire off. It would startle everybody, but to the UIL outlaw those, I guess you would say. It was really sort of like Smokey at the Texas games. It was really fun. And then you got Lee used to. Matter of fact, I don't know. I haven't been to a game lately, but they used to have a huge flag that they would unfurl, the Texas flag. So it was always a lot of ceremony and before. It was lots of times only one team would go to the playoffs. So the city championship was, after a district championship, the city playoffs, or city championship was a big deal. I mean, it still is, but now lots of teams go to the playoffs, so it's a little bit different, but the crowds were overflowing then because, you know, you got 2 great bands too, so that's always a great show.
Absolutely. Yeah. Travis, we got Robert E. Lee warming up behind us. You've covered John Tyler all year, and I know we're going to get into John Tyler and Lee much better, much more as we go along. But just to start off, I mean, what do you think? I mean, you've had a chance to see JT all this entire season.
Well, I think if you got to ask about John Tyler, you know, they are looking at this all-time series being 1 game away, and they're thinking, at least Coach Ricklin Holmes talking to him, they're thinking we cannot let them tie this up. They take it personally. Ricklin Holmes was 4-0 against Lee as a player, and really when Holmes graduated, you know, JT had a healthy lead, and then in the aughts, you know, with Mike Owens, Lee just tore off 12 of 13 wins in a row, and really made the series close again, and it's been back and forth the last couple years. And it'll be interesting to see if Lee can finally tie it up for the first time in the entire series dating back to 1958.
Guys, I'm always very impressed with the TISD Athletic Hall of Fame and all of the different really celebrities that are going to be right behind us that are going to start filtering in. Everyone's going to start meeting each other. They're going to be sitting down, having a nice meal. Phil, just to go through some of these names, Dr. Theodore Henderson from Emmett Scott for football, basketball, and baseball. We've got Wanda Soul, Tyler for Tyler High for golf. Alfred Humphrey from John Tyler for football. and we'll go. We can talk a little bit about these as we go along. I'm just trying to get to this list. Of course, Larry Jones, Robert E. Lee, and Carl Love. You can't have one without the other. The two basketball coaches from the two rival schools. Julie Murphy Collins was a fantastic soccer player for Robert E. Lee. William Travis Wallace for Emmett Scott for basketball and baseball, and then the Lee 1959 golf team, which features another Parker, Jerry Parker. We're going to have Rhett Parker out on the field, his grandson, in this ball game for Robert E. Lee. Anybody, any of those names would you like to just talk about?
Well, Dr. Henderson and Mr. Wallace, they played at Emmett Scott back in the early times. It was a fact of life. There was segregation here, and there was a black high school in town, and Emmett Scott was part of the Tyler ISD. And around 1970, 71, everyone went to school together then. But Dr. Henderson and Mr. Wallace both went to Kansas State. Back then it was known as Kansas State Teachers College. Now it's Kansas State Wildcats, but they're in the Hall of Fame there. And they were just outstanding basketball players when I believe it was the Big Six then, and then later the Big Eight. But a great conference, as it still is now with the Big 12. And then Mrs. Hendricks, she still teaches golf out at Willowbrook.
Wow.
And before Harvey Pinnock, the great Harvey Pinnock died, she was one of his favorite students. And so you know, he's taught Ben Crenshaw and Tom Kite and a number of other great golfers in our state. And Mrs. Hendricks is noted as one of the top 100 female golfers in the state of Texas. And that says a lot when you have Mae Dietrichson-Zarius as perhaps the best all-time female golfer, or one of the best all-time female athletes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so her name is right up there. But back when Mrs. Hendricks went to Tyler High, there were really just the Blue Brigade and that. So there were not a lot of girls athletics, and it just shows what she has accomplished.
Travis, we've talked about this. How do you go about selecting these people to be a part of this TISD Athletic Hall of Fame?
Well, number one, you have to be nominated, and you can go to the Tyler ISD website, and there's a form there. So if you want to get your favorite athlete into the Hall of Fame, you need to go to that website and nominate for next year, because it'll be at the JT Lee game next year. About a couple of months before the football game, committee gathers, and we try to take at least one from Emmett Scott, Tyler High, John Tyler, and Lee. And also there can be a contributor, like last year with Mr. Faulkner, who has been one of the beneficiaries of the benefactor of the tennis program at JT and Lee. And so there's a number of ways that people can get in. And also, their after graduation, it plays a part. You know, a lot of these people have gone on for helping charities and other events, and that makes a difference. But you have to be out at least 5 years, either coaching or graduated from the TISD.
And who all is on that committee besides yourself?
Well, I'm on that committee, and Greg Priest, the superintendent, Bill Coates of KTVB, our partner on the radio, and also Cindy Smoke of Sport Tyler. But just if you nominate, we still have a lot of nominations for next year, but there's a lot of people that, Tyler has a rich history of athletics, and also that people are prideful in their community.
Well, guys, fantastic information. I mean, we're very fired up for this ball game, but we're going to be right back after this word from Mole Masters, our sponsor. You're listening to the ETFinalScore.com Roadshow.
Mole Masters is excited to be the presenting sponsor of the 2016 ETFinalScore.com Roadshow. Mole Masters is a professional, local, family-owned pest control company that is here to serve you. Contact us at 903-287-0999 to tackle mosquitoes, moles, gophers, armadillos, or any other pests. Mole Masters is your #1 defense and will help you take your yard back. Call us today at 903-287-0999.
ETFinalScore.com has East Texas high school sports covered. And now you can take it with you. Get the latest scores from Friday Night Football, articles and videos. Focus in on Dotney photo galleries and more. So don't miss a thing and get your ETFinalScore.com app today.
Hi, we're back at Christus Trinity Mother Frances Rose Stadium for the ETFinalScore.com Roadshow, and we're joined by our partner in crime, CBS 19's Keith Leventhal. You usually do this to us. Now you're at the desk with the journalists.
You go 3 wide here? We don't have this kind of luxury.
3 wide. What do you think about this ball game between Robert Lee and John Tyler? This is your first. You've been in town for what, a couple months?
Couple months, yeah.
In East Texas. Talk to me about just the build up to this game.
So I grew up in a town with 2 high schools. I know this feeling. I know being on one side, hating the other side, and the tension of this game. And I mean, I've been talking about it all day and thinking about it. It means so little in terms of the playoffs and seeding and things like that. But for these kids, it's the game of the year. And I mean, it's the date they've had circled. November 4th's been circled. And I remember as a fan. I'd never played football, but I remember as a fan. I think we could have been 0-9 coming into this game. Made no difference to me. You win that game, season was a success.
And that's kind of the way it is right now for Robert E. Lee. They can make their entire season with the win tonight.
I mean, they've been so close. We've talked about it, a couple of weeks, and they've had such struggles at times. They've been so close at times. If they could just get over that last hurdle and get that win today, I mean, I can't imagine I guess they're on that side of the stadium. I can't imagine what that side of the stadium is going to be like.
Well, guys, we're going to talk about Robert E. Lee here first because Robert E. Lee is 2-7 in the season, but really, like exactly what these two gentlemen said, a victory in this game would make all of that disappear. They've struggled in district, but they've been so close so many times. And Coach George always talks about how they want to try to win the last game. He's told me that on several occasions. Well, this would be the perfect last game to win if you want to try to go into the offseason with a victory. Guys, from where you're standing, talk to me about Robert Lee. I see him every single week, but talk to me kind of how you feel about just looking at kind of like their weapons on offense and defense. First of all, you, Travis.
When you look at Lee, it's got to start with that running back quarterback combination. Chance Amy at quarterback, he's the top rusher at quarterback in the district, and then Ladarius Wickware, he's been unstoppable the last few weeks. Over 1,000 yards for the season, but most of those have come in the last 3 or 4 weeks.
Something that's caught my attention recently, besides that, which is that's the main point, is that they're so young at points that they fall behind, and how do you come back from that? And each week they've made a run late, and they've put themselves in position. They haven't won the games, but they've been close, and that's what you want from a team like this, to see that progression. I know you want the wins. I know that's ultimately it, but you take that, you put it together with a good performance today, again, win or lose, and that's the building that they need.
Well, guys, it's live television. We're the ETFinalScore.com Roadshow. We actually are going to come back after a commercial from Mole Masters, and we're going to have the head coach of Robert E. Lee, Clayton George, with us. So we're going to be right back after a commercial.
Mole Masters is excited to be the presenting sponsor of the 2016 ETFinalScore.com Roadshow. Mole Masters is a professional, local, family-owned pest control company that is here to serve you. Contact us at 903-287-0999 to tackle mosquitoes, moles, gophers, armadillos, or any other pests. Mole Masters is your #1 defense and will help you take your yard back. Call us today at 903-287-0999.
ETFinalScore.com has East Texas high school sports covered. And now you can take it with you. Get the latest scores from Friday Night Football, articles and videos. Focus in on .me photo galleries and more. So don't miss a thing and get your ETFinalScore.com app today.
Hi, we're back with the ETFinalScore.com Roadshow. I'm with Robert E. Lee head football coach, Clayton George. Coach, I know that this game is just huge, the emotion, everything's involved. What's it like being on the sidelines as you're now guys preparing to play this ball game?
Well, it's a nice environment. It's good to be here. It's a great night in East Texas, and two good football teams, and there's a lot of tradition between the two, and just excited to be a part of it.
We talked a little bit this week about the history of it, and I know you're trying not to get too much caught up. And do the kids, are they thinking about the fact that they have an opportunity to tie this series up, and it's been going on since the 1950s?
No, we haven't focused on that. Our goal, like I've mentioned to you for all season, is to win the next game. So we're trying to focus on winning this football game, go out and give our seniors something that they can remember, for the rest of their lives. A lot of them, this will be their last time to play, so it'll be a special night. A special way to go out getting a win tonight for them.
Cool. Travis, jump in here anytime.
Well, I was going to ask you, you're facing a JT offense that has, guys like Damien Miller, Bryson Smith, Cameron Grant. What do you do to slow them down?
The best way we can slow them down is try to keep them off the field. You know, they got an electric offense. They do a great job. Got a lot of playmakers. So we have our hands full. It'll be a challenge. The best thing that we can do is try to do our best to move the chains on offense and keep them off the field.
And we've got on our cover shot of our preview magazine, we got Kyle Sanders and Damien Miller. Do you think we'll see them going head-to-head tonight?
Probably so. I mean, Kyle's our best defensive football player, and in the secondary especially, and he and Campbell Miller lead our defense, and so I would bet that you probably see those two match up tonight at some point.
Coach, final question. We ask every single week, what do you think it's going to take to come out of here to walk out so the guys from Robert E. Lee can go out to the middle of that circle and take the rows, and Robert E. Lee can win this ball game tonight?
Well, like I said, we got to control the game, control the football. We can't turn the football over. We need to be able to establish the run like we've been able to do in the last few weeks. And then again, like you and I have talked, Chris, we got to play a full 48 minutes. We've played a lot of games that have played 47 minutes, but that doesn't count. It's 48 minutes. We got to play the full game. If we can do that, play our best game tonight, we got a great chance to win.
Coach, I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Appreciate it. Good luck tonight.
Thank you.
Guys, we'll be right back with another word from our sponsor, Mole Masters. You're watching the ETFinalScore.com Roadshow from Christus Trinity Mother Frances Rose Stadium, and we're at the Rose City Rivalry.
Mole Masters is excited to be
man.
the presenting sponsor of the 2016 ETFinalScore.com Roadshow. Mole Masters is a professional, local, family-owned pest control company that is here to serve you. Contact us at 903-287-0999 to tackle mosquitoes, moles, gophers, armadillos, or any other pests. Mole Masters is your #1 defense and will help you take your yard back. Call us today at 903-287-0999.
ETFinalScore.com has East Texas high school sports covered. And now you can take it with you. Get the latest scores from Friday Night Football, articles and videos. Focus in on .me photo galleries and more. So don't miss a thing and get your ETFinalScore.com app today.
Guys, we're live back at Christus Trinity Mother Frances Rose Stadium for the ETFinalScore.com Roadshow. I'm your host, Chris Perry. Guys, it's been fantastic. We've had guests. We just got a chance to just talk to Robert E. Lee head football coach Clayton George. We're going to also talk to Coach John Tyler head football coach Ricklin Holmes a little bit later. Phil Hicks, my sports editor, is been out, and he's going into the crowd, and he's grabbing TISD Athletic Hall of Famers, and we're going to have just a great time talking with them. And our first guest is Larry Jones, former basketball coach of Robert E. Lee High School. Coach, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, sir.
What was it like to get the phone call to know, and especially with you and Coach Love as we had going in together? Talk to me about just getting the phone call.
It's just awesome. I mean, words can't explain how good it feels. Words can't explain the opportunity and how blessed that we were to be able to work in Tyler and to be able to work with the hundreds and hundreds of young men that we were able to work with. And coming in with Coach Love at the same time is awesome, because he and I had many, many, many battles. We were on the short end of a lot of those battles, but they were great rivalries.
Coach, I've got you here. I've got to ask you, and it's been plenty of basketball games, I know, but is there a game that just stands out that is the one that, oh my goodness, that's the one I remember the most?
Absolutely. We played Lufkin in Robert E. Lee Gym. And I believe it was 1990, 1991. It went 8 overtimes.
Wow.
It's the second longest game ever played in the state of Texas. And it's even better. We were able to fortunately win that game.
So even better that you won the game.
Yes, sir. It was 101-99. And it wasn't one of those games to where a team gets it and holds it in overtime for the last shot. It was back and forth, and there were 4 different overtimes that either either Lufkin made a shot at the buzzer or Lee made a shot at the buzzer to push it to the next overtime. It was unbelievable.
Well, I know Phil knows way more about you than I do.
Yes,
so I'm
sir.
gonna let Phil take over and ask you some questions.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, go around here. You coming on now?
Coach Jones. Not only was he great to work with, but his teams were so fundamental.
Do you guys want my mic?
Coach,
You want to grab my mic?
A great game no matter what.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Phil. I appreciate it.
And one game I do remember, I know you do too, but David Martin, I think he's a doctor now, I believe.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm not going to be there for pizza. That was the whole reason I came out here.
They went up by 1 and then David hits a mid-court shot to win it.
Yes, sir. Isn't it amazing how
Still stuck.
as a coach or a player or someone who covers the games, you can remember the small details? I can remember that we were ahead. John Tyler made a basket with 6 seconds to go. And our fans just, like that. And we got the rebound, or threw the ball in bounds.
Then we had to lift my
David
shirt up
Martin,
and
and he
left
made 2 dribbles from midcourt, launched the shot. We were out of timeouts. Launched the shot, went in, and we won the game. And it's just one of those exciting times.
I can still, it was deafening sound.
Yes, sir.
One of the loudest I've ever heard.
Yes, sir. You know, and the thing about Lee and John Tyler that when we played is that Jim Lee would hold approximately 2,800 people.
Yeah, who built that thing?
Standing room only. And it was every time we played, it was packed house.
Yeah.
It's the way that we would have a band and the drill team, everything was there. It was the way basketball games were supposed to be played.
Hey.
And one thing that we were all proud of is that
man.
not
Been there,
one
done
single
that.
time in all those games did we ever have an incident
Looks good, though.
occur. It was always a heated rivalry with lots of
That's
emotion
coming.
and lots of excitement, but yet it was always a clean, well-fought game.
Can they hear it on air?
Always shook hands afterwards.
Yes, sir.
And,
Yes, sir.
And many times they go to the playoffs or in the running for district championships.
Yes, sir.
Really, Tyler basketball was at its height.
Yes, sir.
It's really good.
Coach Jones, what's it going to be like to stand on this field with all of these other Hall of Famers and be a part of this, be a part of the fourth class?
Well, just to be mentioned in the name of some of these people, it's an awesome feeling, and to be honest with you, it's a scary feeling. You know, it's just there's just words can't explain what it means to people, and what it means to me is to be able to step out on the field and just be mentioned with some of the great names of people that have been in TISD and from either coaching or athletics or players or whatever like that. It's just a tremendous honor.
Coach, you've kind of been out of the high school coaching game. How have you seen how Robert E. Lee and John Tyler basketball have gone on since you've
Yes,
gone
sir.
on to Tyler?
Yes, sir. I've been out of coaching now 10 years. We're at 12 years. And I was able to, when I left Robert E. Lee, I coached 5 years as an assistant at UT Tyler. And so I was able to stay in the game. I've seen John Tyler and I've seen Robert E. Lee play several times since then. Their basketball is still great. It's still good. They still have good athletes. It's just an opportunity to get to be part of it again and get to see it. And you'll never, once you've coached or once you've covered sports for like you have for so long, you never get it out of your system. My son now is the head coach at Pflugerville Connolly. So I get to be a part of it again, but there's nothing ever like the rivalry that existed between Robert E. Lee and John Tyler.
Got you. You want to?
Coach Jones, we appreciate you making it the trip, and then congratulations
Well,
on the Hall
thank
of Fame
you.
induction.
Thank you, sir.
Well deserved.
Appreciate it very, very much. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Coach Jones,
Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
And we'll be right back with the ETFinalScore.com Roadshow from Christus Trinity Mother Francis Rose Stadium.
Bowl Masters is excited to be the presenting sponsor of the 2016 ETFinalScore.com Roadshow. Mole Masters is a professional, local, family-owned pest control company that is here to serve you. Contact us at 903-287-0999 to tackle mosquitoes, moles, gophers, armadillos, or any other pests. Mole Masters is your #1 defense and will help you take your yard back. Call us today at 903-287-0999.
ETFinalScore.com has East Texas high school sports covered. And now you can take it with you. Get the latest scores from Friday Night Football, articles and videos. Focus in on .me photo galleries and more. So don't miss a thing and get your ETFinalScore.com app today.
At Christus Trinity Mother Francis Rose Stadium for the Rose City rivalry between Robert E. Lee and John Tyler. This game is huge. It always is. You throw out the records, and I'm joined by Bill Coates, and I'm excited. I'm excited for this game, and we're joined by Bruno's Pizza. How did you decide to come when the Bruno's Pizza arrived?
Hey, you gotta love it. Thank you, Bill Campbell.
So Bruno's Pizza has been.
What the rest of y'all gonna do? I'll take this up.
So Bruno's Pizza has been gracious enough to donate us some pizza here to the Roadshow. I'm excited. I mean, you can see the cheerleaders coming, the crowd starting to filter in. When I was coming in, I could already see you guys broadcasting up in the press box. Sure. You could smell the smoke from the grills.
People are tailgating going on.
People are pumped up.
Yeah, it's good. This has been. I grew up in Tyler, so I started coming to this game when I was a kid, sitting on the visitor side, and I think I was at the first game Lee ever beat John Tyler. JT won the first 5, I believe. And then maybe 63, I'm just, a kid. My parents, we lived right across the street over here from the fairgrounds, and we'd come to these games every year. And I grew up over on this side of town, so I was a JT fan. And but they were always packed and always a lot of fun. They played them on Friday nights, and the whole town all week long built up to it. It's always been a fun atmosphere. This is what the 61st time they played, so cool stuff.
It's gonna be great, and Bill has had the honor of being the radio play-by-play voice for John Tyler and now for Robert E. Lee. Is there a different dynamic from covering one team to the other?
Yeah, I think of course Lee has had a great run. They're a little bit down record-wise this year. Football has always been very important to John Tyler, and the tradition, because of course dating back to Tyler High School and the state championships, JT they expect to win, and they get mad if they don't. Lee did not have that consistently until Mike Owens came on board, and he brought that with him when he came here in the 90s, and that's continued on. Now, Lee hasn't had the success they wanted this year, but football's a big deal. And Robert E. Lee and Mike helped make that happen, and that all led up to that state championship in 04. But, they both want to win. They both have good athletes. John Tyler has had such a great tradition. I remember when Earl played on this field. So, there's just nothing quite like, and then Alan Wilson, when he came here, he's the guy that brought Cujo with him. And I was talking to Matt Flynn a while ago. Matt hasn't been in the stadium in 14 years.
Wow, seriously.
Since he played here. And, he was here one of the JT League games when they were playing on Saturday afternoons. Alan Wilson rolled out the Cujo jerseys for the first time in this game.
Against him, that first time.
Yeah, one of his teams. And so, that's the kind of stuff that you get.
Well, for me, I've been covering this game since 2004, and my first game was Robert E. Lee's state championship. They thought that they had the good luck charm when I started covering Robert E. Lee.
Man, right?
Really, the one thing that I remember about this ball game is that you just really can't predict how it's going to go and who's going to win. There's been more than a couple times we've been up in the press box talking, going, I don't know, one way or the other, and then the complete it's a different result. First of all, let's talk about just the last 2 ball games where Robert E. Lee seems like they've really were not favored in either one of them, and yet they were able to assert their dominance, and then of course that leads into this one.
I believe there's a belief at Robert E. Lee that they kind of have JT's number. Now, I don't, and the only reason I say that is because they've had recent success. I think Mike Owens' bunch, they had a formula they had figured out how they could go about beating John Tyler. Then, of course, Thomas Brooks came along, and that changed. It's been kind of 50-50 since. But the last 2 years, Robert E. Lee has won this game. They won it decisively last year. And 2 years ago, they were behind big. You were here.
Yes, it was an unbelievable comeback.
And rallied and won the game, and it was just amazing. Now, 2013, Lee had won their first 2 games, and they came in here kind of feeling good about themselves and just got spanked, 44-0. So, yeah, this game has always been unpredictable. That's kind of typical of rivalry games. These kids grow up with each other. They all play 7-on-7 Pop Warner football against and with each other, and so everybody knows everybody, and that kind of makes this game makes it fun.
Cool. Speaking of fun, we're about to be joined on the set here after this commercial with the John Tyler head football coach, Ricklin Holmes. We'll be right back with the ETFinalScore.com Roadshow from Christus Trinity Mother Frances Rose Stadium.
Bowl Masters is excited to be the presenting sponsor of the 2016 ETFinalScore.com Roadshow. Bowl Masters is a professional, local, family-owned pest control company that is here to serve you. Contact us at 903-287-0999 to tackle mosquitoes, moles, gophers, armadillos, or any other pests. Bowl Masters is your #1 defense and will help you take your yard back. Call us today at 903-287-0999.
Welcome back to Christus Trinity Mother Francis Rose Stadium, the ETFinalScore.com Roadshow. We got a chance to look at some John Tyler football highlights. And Coach, there have been plenty of highlights of your team this season. Talk to me about just this season and leading up to this ball game.
Well, first of all, these kids are doing what they need to do to take care of these past games, making sure that we're going out there and we're playing John Tyler style football, putting ourselves in a position to win a district title. First time in 6 years. I don't think a lot of people expected us to do this. But us coming out of off-season, going into this season, this is what we expected.
I'm going to ask you one more question. I'm going to turn it over to Travis, so I know you know real well. Beaumont. You talked about Beaumont in the story saying we do not want to go to Beaumont. Just tell the viewers what you mean about that.
What I mean by that is I want my first home game for my boys to be here at Rose Stadium in Tyler, Texas. Nobody wants to make that 3.5, 4-hour drive to Beaumont to go play some football, especially in the first round.
Gotcha. And of course, that's pretty much you've been telling your team all week that very statement.
Most definitely. That's what we got to do to take care of business to make sure that we got that home field advantage. I'm liking being in 6A because you got a little incentive if you're going to take care of business early.
Absolutely.
Now, Coach, you played in this rivalry. You were 4-0 against Lee. What do you remember about playing in this game?
I remember kicking their teeth in. That's the first and foremost thing. Every game that I've played in for John Tyler, we've won against Robbie Lee. For the past 4 years, I think I'm 2-2 now against them. But tonight is a little bit different. Tonight has to do with a district title on the line. Tonight has to do with us not getting on the bus or getting on the bus. So our kids understand that. They know what's going on. We know that this game has a lot more weight than it has in the past. And it's not so much more about bragging rights anymore. It's about us taking care of business and being that district champion again.
And you got a Robert E. Lee team that's going to be motivated to get that first district win. What do you guys got to do to come out and get the win?
We got to come out here and play John Tyler style football. We know that we're going against a great and talented Tyler Lee football team. Coach Clayton and them, they're doing a great job with those kids, getting them ready week in and week out. They just been coming up short. It has nothing to do with them putting points on the board. We know that that's going to happen. We got to make sure that we're not going to be able to stop those guys. We know that the quarterback and the running back are phenomenal athletes. We just have to be able to slow them down enough to where we can capitalize on a few of their mistakes.
And you guys are debuting. We're seeing it behind us right now, the all gray strips. What do you think about that kit?
Well, I tell you what, this is high school Oregon is what it is, baby. I think it's exciting for the kids to know that they got options. When you look good, you play good, you feel good.
Mm-hmm. And any predictions for tonight?
I predict that John Tyler wins.
Yeah.
That's the only prediction I'm worried about right now.
All right.
Well, Coach, I appreciate you. Thank you very much for joining us, and we look forward to talking to you after the game, after a John Tyler victory. Guys, we'll be right back with the ETFinalScore.com Roadshow from Christus Trinity Mother Francis Rose Stadium, sponsored by Mole Masters.
Mole Masters is excited to be the presenting sponsor of the 2016 ETFinalScore.com Roadshow. Mole Masters is a professional, local, family-owned pest control company that is here to serve you. Contact us at 903-287-0999 to tackle mosquitoes, moles, gophers, armadillos, or any other pests. Mole Masters is your #1 defense and will help you take your yard back. Call us today at 903-287-0999.
ETFinalScore.com has East Texas high school sports covered. And now you can take it with you. Get the latest scores from Friday Night Football, articles and videos. Focus in on .me photo galleries and more. So don't miss a thing and get your ETFinalScore.com app today.
We can get him in.
We're back live from Christus Trinity Mother Francis Rose Stadium, the ETFinalScore.com Roadshow. Travis is back in his middle seat. We're going through guests.
Playing musical
chairs. We're moving on guests now. We got to get guests mic'd up and get them up here. That is the joy of live television or live streaming, folks. Behind us, I don't know about you, I'm looking behind us. You can see the players coming out. You can start to feel the atmosphere. Let's talk to me a little about Robert E. Lee and John Tyler. He and I cover Robert E. Lee. Travis covers John Tyler. We've been a part of a lot of these games. What's the game the one that stands out the most to you?
To me, it was a couple years ago, John Tyler coming in with the #1 ranking, getting a 14-point lead at halftime, and then just Robert E. Lee just storming back. Like they were not going to be denied and coming out with the win. And since then, they kind of carried that over into the next year and won by 69-38, a huge win. And it's going to be up to John Tyler to come out and kind of stop that trend, or maybe Lee can keep it going.
We talked a little bit about just the come from behind way that Robert E. Lee has been able to play, whereas John Tyler, they've just jumped on teams and then they really just kind of left them in the dust. Do you see that happening tonight?
Well, John Tyler, they've fallen behind a few times in the first quarter, but the thing about it is the second half has belonged to John Tyler without a doubt. It started when they shut out North Mesquite in the second half. They dominated Longview in the second half, and Mesquite Horn last week. They've got an Oklahoma-bound quarterback, and they sent him to the bench basically, pretty much. They got an Oklahoma-bound quarterback benched from their play in the second half, and so it's going to be interesting to see if John Tyler can continue to get against Lee, a team that throughout the year has shown that they will not die. They've been in every single game they've played.
Well, speaking of Robert E. Lee and John Tyler, we're actually about to be joined here after this commercial break by one of the TISD Athletic Hall of Famers, Matt Flynn, NFL quarterback for the Green Bay Packers. And we're excited to talk to him. So we'll be right back after this word from Mole Masters. You're watching the ETFinalScore.com Roadshow from Christus Trinity Mother Francis Rose Stadium.
Mole Masters is excited to be the presenting sponsor of the 2016 ETFinalScore.com Roadshow. Mole Masters is a professional, local, family-owned pest control company that is here to serve you. Contact us at 903-287-0999 to tackle mosquitoes, moles, gophers, armadillos, or any other pests. Mole Masters is your #1 defense and will help you take your yard back. Call us today at 903-287-0999.
This is old hat for you. We're back live. First of all, Matt, talk to me about being a part of this class, being part of the fourth class of the TISD Athletic Hall of Fame.
Yeah, it's an honor. I haven't been back to the stadium in 14 years since I played. It's my first fall off. I've had to relax and come back home for a game. So, it's an honor. Grew up watching the Red Raiders play and always hoping one day I could wear the pads and play on Friday nights. And since then, what a journey it's been, and what an amazing opportunity that TISD and Robert E. Lee gave me to open the doors for me to end up being able to go to college.
You've been a part of this ball game. You've been in the emotion. What are these guys going through right now as we lead up to kickoff?
Yeah, I don't know. I can tell you how I felt, and it was a lot of nerves. I was just one of those guys inherently that was always nervous before a game. If I wasn't nervous, I was a little bit. I thought that was a bad sign. So a lot of hard work's gone into this. It's been a long season probably so far leading up to this game. And with this crosstown rivalry, it's a special thing. This is the one game that you circle on the calendar before the season. And they probably have some friends that they're playing against each other, lining up across the line from. But this is the one game that 20 years from now they'll remember.
Is there any one memory that stands out from playing against John Tyler?
Not anything specific as in a specific play or a person, but I just remember my junior year. We were the visiting team, and it was the last game of the season, and they had to win to make the playoffs. It was a must-win for them, so I think that was the first time they came out at game. They wore their regular jerseys for pregame, and then when they came out for the game, they had the Cujo jerseys on.
Got you.
So I think that was the first time they'd ever worn them in the regular season. All for naught, we still beat them. And went on a good run. But.
Do you think that that's kind of what's made this rivalry so much better? You played under Coach Mike Owens, and it seemed like things started turning when you guys started winning these games. Because before then, it was pretty much all blue, one-sided.
Yeah, it was. And I didn't start until really my junior year, but my freshman year, sophomore year, I think Lee had kind of already turned that corner, and I don't think when that Lee lost to John Tyler in my high school career, but that was new, because John Tyler obviously in the 90s had an amazing run, and I think at that point, about my freshman year of high school is when Lee was turning out just these amazing classes. I remember my senior year, we had, I think, 7 D1 signees. There was just year after year where there was big athletes and big names coming through.
And was your dad part of the series as well?
Yeah, he was. My dad played for John Tyler. Yeah.
What has he told you about the rivalry when he remembers on his side?
I think he was actually, his junior year was actually the first time Lee beat John Tyler. And
So kind of a sore subject.
It's kind of a sore subject, but he tells me that story all the time about a 2-point conversion went awry, and he relives that moment a lot. But it's kind of cool that we're walking in there. He's got red on today because he's supporting me and supporting all his kids that went to Lee. But it's kind of cool that we both played quarterback. One for John Tyler, one for Lee.
We got you at the desk. We got to talk to you. You played so many high school games. Is there any one high school game, not even John Tyler Lee, is there one game that you just remember, like, my gosh, that's one of the best games I've ever played in?
High school games, my senior year Lufkin game, best high school game that I was ever part of. Ended up going to overtime. It was wet, rainy, probably 6 inches of mud on the field. And
I think that's the famous David Smoke
call.
David Smoke
that was it. I remember I think the play was 56 bootleg, F wheel on the backside, and Michael Rogers was the fullback. Threw a touchdown. I think it was 4th down. Threw a touchdown to win it. And I just remember that game was just such a defensive struggle. I mean, I could barely grip the ball. It was so wet and muddy. The ball weighed probably 20 pounds. I was shot putting it the whole day, but man, that's one of the ones you remember.
Well, I got Travis here, graduate of Texas A&M. They're all about the SEC. You got an SEC guy here. You want to ask him some SEC questions?
Well, I was going to ask. You've played in a lot of atmospheres. From Rose Stadium to Baton Rouge to the NFL. What is there any one atmosphere that stands out most for you?
It's I actually, honestly, not just because I'm a homer. I honestly feel I've been so fortunate in all 3 levels of football. I feel like I've played at the best place, atmosphere-wise. I mean, look at this atmosphere for a high school football game. It's an incredible place. It's an incredible atmosphere. Nobody. I live in Louisiana now, and go to high school football there. This would be unheard of. I know. You just don't see this many people, this kind of crowd, this kind of atmosphere at high school. I was fortunate enough to play in the SEC, play at Tiger Stadium, which night games there, I think, are the most electric atmosphere I've ever been a part of. And then Lambeau Field, you can't.
I know. How do you compare? We like Rose Stadium, but Lambeau Field. You've played at probably 2 of the most daunting, I would think, home venues. How does Lambeau compare to a night at Tiger Stadium?
It's the atmosphere is different a little bit. Death Valley or Tiger Stadium is one of those places where it's such a loud crowd, such a hostile crowd that it's intimidating. Lambeau is one of those places that's still intimidating, especially a night game, but it just has this aura about it where, I think even visiting teams are excited to play in Lambeau just so they can get the experience and be in Lambeau Field.
Well, I'd be remiss. We're good.
I was going to say, you got a big game for your Tigers on Saturday night. What do you think about going up against Alabama?
Man, this is the game that every LSU fan wants to win. I think they could lose every other game all season. If they won this one, I think they'd still be happy at the end of the year. Had a coaching change, and I've been really proud of the team and the guys and the way they've adjusted and responded to the coaching change. I think they have a lot of energy right now. It's kind of like they have recharge batteries. I've been around the facility. I spent a decent amount of time there during the week, and I think they have a puncher's chance tomorrow. They got a lot of energy. They're excited about the game. They're coming off a bye week, so they've had 2 weeks to prepare, and they're gonna have to make some things happen. But they have the talent to get it done. It's gonna be hard because I think Alabama, up until this point, has been the best team in college football. But I'm excited. We're leaving tomorrow morning headed for the game, so I'll do that.
Of course, talking about the NFL, Green Bay. Has Aaron Rodgers ever? I've never heard anybody think that Aaron Rodgers was off his game, and now he's having to take criticism. That's got to be weird for you. You've been in the locker room with him forever.
I've seen that guy firsthand play some of the most incredible quarterback games. That's the way. If you ever wanted to teach someone to play quarterback, I've seen him do that. That's the way you play quarterback. And I've watched him a little bit this year, and I think he's still great, right? But I think their offense they seem a little out of sync a couple of times, a couple of games.
How crazy is not having a running game? They've turned the receiver into a running back.
Yeah, it's tough. They have their 1 and 2 quarterback's injured. So that makes a huge difference. But NFL's a long season. There's always going to be a couple of game stretch where you're not going to have your best stuff as a team, as an offensive player, whatever it is. But in the end, he's a playmaker and he's one of the best guys.
A couple more questions. Hey, Travis, this guy, if you're going to be a part of the Green Bay Packers, you got to play in the elements. And this guy played one of his best games ever in the elements. Come on, Detroit Lions. I mean, just snowing. What did you think whenever you in that ball game?
You know, what's funny is when you play in Green Bay, everyone's always like, "Oh, you guys have such a home field advantage because from Green Bay, I like playing in the cold." If you look at the roster, everyone's either from the South or from California, so nobody likes the cold that plays on the team. But I guess you get used to it. But
did you get used to it?
I don't think you get used to being cold.
Okay.
You don't get used to the cold. You just get used to being cold, so you don't shake as much. But man, there were some games out there. But yeah, the Lions game, I think it was 10 degrees, 15 degrees, and windy. I wouldn't have ever guessed that. Both. Matthew Stafford threw for. I think we had 1,000 total yards passing.
It was a Texas quarterback showcase, is what it was.
It was insane. But man, the elements are rough.
And of course, in the Super Bowl, you got a chance to be at Jerry World when it all matters. What about this right here? Being in the fourth class, being with all these people, have you had a chance to kind of meet and talk to some of the other inductees?
I've met a couple of them, not all of them. It's been, you walk into this place and you see old faces you haven't seen in over 10 years. So I've been talking to a lot of guys, but whatever. It's truly an honor to come back and be able to be recognized by all these guys.
Gotcha.
I never expected it. So.
Matt, I appreciate your time. Yeah. Congratulations, sir, and thanks for joining us.
Appreciate it.
Very good.
We'll be right back with the ETFinalScore.com Roadshow from Christus Trinity Mother Francis Road Stadium.
Mold Masters is excited to be the presenting sponsor of the 2016 ETFinalScore.com Roadshow. Mold Masters is a professional, local, family-owned pest control company that is here to serve you. Contact us at 903-287-0999 to tackle mosquitoes, moles, gophers, armadillos, or any other pests. Mold Masters is your #1 defense and will help you take your yard back. Call us today at 903-287-0999.
On senior night and really putting on a show.
They're starting to play John Tyler football. Kids are starting to understand what they need to do as a unit to get things done and to come out with victories like we did today. 69-22 is a big win against a great Mesquite Horn team that has been putting up some big numbers on a lot of different folks. And today we came out and we played John Tyler style football with John Tyler football players.
Coming into this game, Mesquite Hornet has averaged 50 points in district games. Then you guys shut them out in the second half. What was the key to that?
Got to do it our defense. Coach Anderson and defensive staff are doing a great job preparing those kids to do what they need to do on the field to stop great quarterbacks like they have over there, the good matchup against great receivers like they have over there. So, hats off to those guys, the way they're starting to practice, the way they're starting to perform on a week-in, week-out basis. That's something that you can hang your hat on.
It was a 12-point game at halftime, and you guys come out, and Victor Campbell comes up with a big fumble recovery. How big was that for you guys?
Victor's starting to be a little guy that we can start to look for to make some plays. He made some big plays on offense. He came up with that big fumble on a special team. So, a guy like that, you want to see him have some success because of the work that he's been putting in and knowing that, that's what it takes. That's what it takes to be that type of football player, to be that type of person, to help your teammates out and do what you need to do to help us as an overall unit.
You guys were shorthanded in a few areas. Then you bring Mosley in at receiver and have some other guys step up. Talk about the depth of this team tonight.
That's what we try to create, having our guys go on both sides of the ball. You got probably 80% Damien Miller. You got a 70%, Michael Givens. You got to bring guys in, and it starts in practice, getting those guys the reps. That's why, we split our practice up the way that we do with an offense and a defensive practice so that kids can get that time to practice on both sides of the ball so we can create that depth because we don't have just one unit guys. We got guys that play on both sides and they create depth.
Overall, what impressed you most here on senior night?
Well, first thing is, how the guys played. Love how they responded to my halftime adjustment as far as what I told them I needed done to come out. That's a big moment, not only for me, but that's a big moment for this team and for me to understand the type of team that I have right now, the type of coaching staff that I have right now that's willing to do what it takes to get it done.
And now just Robert E. Lee standing in the way of a district title. Just talk about the position you are in now. Have you clinched a playoff spot?
We're still in the driver's seat. We clinched that playoff spot, but we hadn't clinched that district title yet. And we got to win next Friday to clinch that district title.
Thanks, Coach. That'll do it here from Rose Stadium. John Tyler defeats Mesquite Horn 69-22 and clinches the playoff spot.
This edition of the ET Final Score Roadshow is sponsored by Mole Masters.
Welcome back to the ETFinalScore.com Roadshow. We're live from Christus Trinity Mother Frances Rose Stadium, where you can see John Tyler fans pouring in and looking to fill this place. Robert E. Lee fans are slowly but surely starting to fill in on the other side. I'm hoping we're going to have a full house. We're here with Kevin Simon from KTBB Radio. You have a job to do here in a little while. I got to get back up there.
Yeah.
Talk to just how excited are you about this ball game?
Hey man, I'm excited about this. Is what high school football in the state of Texas looks like, right? It's a big night. It feels like a playoff game, even though it's not. But it's a good atmosphere, and it's nice to see the two teams back in the same district playing the last regular season game of the season.
Travis, go ahead.
Well, talk about you've covered Lee all season. They haven't been able to break through with a district win yet. Talk about their resiliency, staying in every game, and how you think they're going to fight tonight against their biggest rival.
Well, yeah, they'll definitely fight to the end. That's one thing they do. Clayton George has instilled this in that team pretty early, that they will keep playing to the very end. I think the problem Lee has had a lot throughout the season, as Chris knows, is they dug themselves too big a hole. Now, they can't do that against John Tyler, because John Tyler has the type of offense that can put you away. So if they can get off to a good start, take care of the football, they'll give themselves a shot.
We've seen some games. What's one of the games that stands out to you? I mean, your kid played on this field too in this ball game.
Well, a lot of these games stand out, but the one that I guess for Robert E. Lee fans that are kind of looking for something to hang on, you go back to 2011 when Lee was 1-9 and the only victory of the season was against John Tyler.
Coach Huffstick, he was crying during his interview.
That's right. John Tyler went on to have a great season. They went 11-4, got knocked out in the semifinals, so they were a game away from state championship. Lee went 1-9, but they found a way to beat John Tyler that season.
Travis, that's something interesting too. If JT does lose this game, which we've talked, Coach Holmes is excited and really, really confident. Coach George is cautiously optimistic. I think we got that. But one thing we've learned is that John Tyler, when they do lose this game, they go on a long way to the playoffs. I mean, it seems like that fuels their fire.
Yeah, that's right. You watch what they've been able to do last 6 or 7 years under Coach Holmes, especially when Greg Ward was here quarterbacking, and then Gio McAllister took him to the semifinals as well. It just goes to show how this is a rivalry game where records don't matter, where the strengths of the teams don't matter. It's who goes out and plays the best that night. And oftentimes it's the team with the worst record.
It definitely seems, guys, like it's turnovers. It seems like it's been turnovers, and there's always a big sack or something like that to kind of get things going.
Yeah, John Tyler has to be the heavy favorite going in. If they take care of the football, I think they're +8 on the season. Lee is -4. John Tyler takes care of the football. They don't hurt themselves with penalties. I think they can win. They will win this ball game. And on the other hand, Lee can't afford to turn it over. So I think you're right. They're going to have to take care of the football.
And you look at the stats. Robert E. Lee has a minus turnover differential. JT is +6, I believe. And so you think that would favor JT, but again, in this game, you never know. And last year, Mikhail Sanders of Lee picked off Bryson Smith of JT. So Sanders will be wanting another one of those.
And you've been around long enough to know Lee knows how to prepare for whatever reason. They know how to get it for John Tyler and Lee, and they've won some games against John Tyler that they shouldn't have probably won. So I'm not putting this game in the bag for John Tyler. I think Lee is going to compete. Hopefully it'll be a nice close ball game, but again, I'm not putting it in the bag for John Tyler.
Well, like I said, I've told these guys before, something happens to Robert E. Lee players when they see blue and a lion. Now, granted, it looks like it's gray tonight and a lion, but they just play at a different level in this ball game, and it's always. I mean, I remember about 4 or 5 years ago, John Tyler came in. They were rolling. They were loaded. They were going to win this game, and LaQuintus Wallace takes the opening kickoff back for a touchdown, and it was almost like JT never recovered, and Lee found a way to win that ball game. I don't know. between us guys, I think I'm interested in seeing is if Lee takes a lead, how will John Tyler respond? Because they've been so good at just jumping on teams and leaving them in the dust. What happens if they're down by 14 points or 17 points? Can they come back and win the ball?
They can definitely come back, but you're right. If they do get down, is it that feeling of here we go again? Lee has kind of figured us out, and I think on the other side, and I mentioned it earlier, I don't think Lee can afford to get behind. We've seen him come back throughout the season, but again, John Tyler has that offense. They're able to put teams away.
Yeah, and John Tyler, they've yet to really fall behind more than a score or so. They've been behind in the first quarter a few times, but it's always been by 7 points, 3 points, 4 points, something that was very manageable. And they would respond and usually score on the next drive. So if Lee were to put a few scores together, stop JT, that mental side of it, going up against your rival, you just never know how these kids are going to react.
And guys, the thing I've been very impressed with John Tyler is just their second half play. I mean, their second half play has been phenomenal, especially in district when it matters most. They have really just stopped teams.
They've dominated teams, in the second half. With the exception of Rockwall, their one loss this year, where they had a 17-point lead in the second half, had a turnover or two, had some special teams issues on kickoffs, and that really allowed Rockwall to get back in the game. And even though John Tyler finished with 300 more total yards of offense than Rockwall, they still ended up with the L.
And mark of a good team is able to play good second halves where you're able to put teams away. John Tyler's been able to do that. Lee has struggled for most of the season in the second half. They played a good second half last week.
But a great fourth quarter.
Yeah, great fourth quarter. And that's what you're going to have to put together a full game. And that's kind of been the mantra all season, putting together a full game to give themselves an opportunity tonight.
And guys, I'll be honest with you, I think that the loss against Rockwall is what's put John Tyler in this spot. When they kind of gave it up against Rockwall, they must have gone back and said, that's never happening again. We're never gonna, because they haven't allowed a team to come even close.
The one team that did come close was Mesquite, and that was a really weird game. Mesquite came in and just played amazing defense that night. Bryson Smith threw 3 interceptions, really uncharacteristic. That's half his interception total for the whole year. And aside from that game, no one's been close. They absolutely eviscerated Rockwall Heath, a team that had come into the game with a lot of momentum, and after that game, they've been dominating teams with their running game. They had 68 yards of total offense against John Tyler. So that kind of tells you the defense that Robert E. Lee is up against tonight.
So these two guys are about to leave me and go up to the press box and be able to cover this ball game. Guys, you don't have to give me a prediction, but I want to know how you see this game, kind of how the flow of the game, especially let's go in the first half. Travis, how do you think the first half is going to kind of progress?
I think John Tyler's going to try to jump on him early and make sure that they just take out, basically kill Lee's hopes early. They want Lee to think that, this is the end of the season, what's the point, They want to try to demoralize them early. I don't think they can, but they're going to try to.
Yeah, Lee has to get off to a good start. I think if they don't, again, this is one of those games they can't afford to get behind. They've been able to come back throughout the season. I don't think that's the way it plays out tonight. If they get behind, again, John Tyler has that offense that can put you away. So Lee has to get off to a good start.
Guys, for me, I do think that Robert E. Lee and John Tyler are going to stay with each other in the first half of this ball game. But I do think the second quarter, I really think about the last 5 minutes of the second quarter are just key because of John Tyler. I call them bookend touchdowns. If you can score a touchdown right before halftime and then come out and maybe if they get, because they love to take that kickoff in the third quarter, and they score again, you turn a close game into like a 21-point lead. And I think that is absolutely critical that Robert E. Lee avoid that at all costs.
Should be fun.
Yeah. Well, gentlemen, I appreciate it.
Man, it's good to be on. Good to have you.
Travis,
thank you.
You guys are off and running. And guys, we'll be right back live with the ETFinalScore.com Roadshow from Christus Trinity Mother Francis Rose Stadium, sponsored by Mole Masters at the Rose City Rivalry.
Mole Masters is excited to be the presenting sponsor of the 2016 ETFinalScore.com Roadshow. Mole Masters is a professional, local, family-owned pest control company that is here to serve you. Contact us at 903-287-0999 to tackle mosquitoes, moles, gophers, armadillos, or any other pests. Mole Masters is your #1 defense and will help you take your yard back. Call us today at 903-287-0999.
Here with John Tyler's Damien Miller. Talk about that pick six he had tonight and the just what were you seeing on that play?
When I caught it in my hands, well, first when they ran the route, they did the first one they scored on, and I was cautioned for them to do it again. And when I seen it, I triggered on it, and I caught the pick, and I took it to the house.
How badly did you want that?
I want that real bad. I did all the technique. I looked the ball in, and when I caught it, I just went straight downfield.
Almost had another one. It looked like it slipped through your hands.
But that one, they kind of jammed my hand. And the first one I could have had, I couldn't move my left arm.
Well, talk about the offense tonight. 69 points, if you include your touchdown. What was going well for you guys?
I mean, the offense, we've been working on this all week. We've been really practicing real hard all week about the offense because we kind of changed some things. You see, we had some different players going in. We kept switching people out, and we were just getting ready for this big game.
And the defense as well, pitching in the second half shutout. How good were they?
Oh, man, our defense, same thing. Our defense, we've been really going over the defense because they got the OU quarterback in the backfield who can throw the ball real good, and we were just really worrying about the routes they was running, and we did real good on them.
Being a Texas commit, getting a pick six on an OU commit, how good was that?
It felt good because, OU and Texas are big rivals, so it kind of felt good.
And now you guys clinched playoff spot, only Robert E. Lee standing between you and a district title. How are you guys feeling about next week?
Oh, we feel real good. I mean, we're not going to sleep on nobody, but you know how Lee has been having kind of a bad season, so we feel real good about winning out this district.
Thanks so much. That's Damien Miller after John Tyler defeated Mesquite Horn 69-22.
It's very important, Mason, my older brother who's now in college, has never lost to John Tyler, and I've never lost to John Tyler, so I'm truly trying to keep the tradition going. I'm pretty sure my dad has also beat John Tyler when he went on the playoff run for the first time. There's nothing better. I mean, you got, two teams that both in East Texas, both in Tyler, playing on both their home fields, just trying to battle out to keep the field, I mean, there's nothing better. I mean, last year we won, year after that we won, year after that we lost, but all that matters is this year, even though we know we're not in the playoffs anymore, we're just battling for some pride right now. He's nothing like, we've ever seen. Gooch, he was really small and quick. Bryson has the arm, he has the legs, he's quick. I mean, he's definitely the definition of a dual threat quarterback. So I think if we stop him, we'll be a run for our money. I mean, we're just gonna have to keep on running the ball. We're gonna have to open up the field, If they put more people in the box, and we're gonna have to do what we did last week and just start throwing the ball. But they have a really athletic secondary, with all their commits. But I think if we just, stay with our game plan, we'll be all right.
We're back live at Chris's Trinity Mother Frances Rose Stadium for the ETFinalScore.com Roadshow. And I'm with some Robert E. Lee Red Raiders, some guys that clearly we know which team you guys want to win tonight. We got Jerry Parker, who's going to be inducted into the TISD Athletic Hall of Fame. The golf team. Golf does not get enough love. Talk to me first of all about this golf team. And of course, we've also got Todd Parker, former quarterback of the Robert E. Lee Red Raiders. Guys, before I get into that, this ball game. What do you guys think about this ball game? First, Jerry, what do you think?
Oh, it's an incredible game, incredible rivalry. Kids fight hard. I know when one of my sons played, John Tyler ran it back in the final 3 seconds, won the game. When Todd played, they were going to the playoffs, and I don't think you won on that game.
We didn't.
We lost by one. I started not to bring that up. But
thank you for bringing up a bad memory. I appreciate it, Dad.
We'll try to be credible. But it's an outstanding tradition, and Tyler's lucky to have two high schools that have this kind of tradition that's been set and carried on for so many years, I guess 57 years.
Todd, you've been on the field in this ball game, and now you're having to kind of control your emotions as you've watched one son play, Mason, and now you got another son, Rhett, who's going to be in this ball game. We actually featured him in a story this week, but just talk to me about your emotions as a player and now as a parent watching this game.
Yeah, well, the emotions don't get any better than this for this particular game. Last year Mason, was fortunate enough to be able to, come out with a victory, which is huge for this town, for that team, for this school, for him as a person. For Rhett, it would be just the same. For us, back in 1988, we came out on the losing end of it, but you know what? We already had our eyes set on something different. but it's one of those regrets that I have from my entire football career of not winning this game, because it's the biggest game that these guys will ever play in their entire life, no matter if they go on and play in any playoff games or not. It's huge.
Jerry, what was it like? I imagine you've seen quite a few of these. I mean, how is it they've kind of gone through the years?
It's been just as exciting in 59, 58, 60 it is today.
Wow.
The stands, the crowds are about the same then as they are now. There wasn't much difference. The excitement has changed. It hasn't changed. It's just the attendees and fans have changed in age, and many of them are like me and Todd. They have relatives that are playing and friends that are playing. So it's huge. It's huge.
What do you guys think? How do you think this game's going to go? How is this game going to unfold as we see John Tyler's Lion being unfolded? They're about to start running on the field. How do you guys think this game's going to unfold?
I don't know. Todd would address that a little bit better. I think for me, I told my daughter-in-law this morning, I got pumped up. I read Ricklin Holmes. I read some of the stuff he wrote in the paper this morning about what they're going to do, what it means to them, and how they're going to take care of us. I think it's going to turn around. I may have to eat these words, but I think he's going to have to eat his.
You think he's going to have to eat his? What about you, Todd?
Yeah, right. You know, so it's two good football teams. You know, despite our record, we're a very good football team. We're very well coached. Those guys are so disciplined. They've fought hard all year long. We've been on the short end of several games, right to the bitter end. This game, you can throw out the record books. You can throw out the teams that the athletes that are on the team, and you can just barrel down to what this game means, because there's a lot of people on this side, there's a lot of people on this side that really want to win this game, and it boils down to who wants it more. And you know, over the past 2 years, we've shown that we wanted it more. Despite the records, despite the fact that JT was #1 in the state in 2014 and we came out and beat him. Anything can happen in this game.
Guys, we're talking about John Tyler and Robert E. Lee, and we're all very excited about that, but I'm also excited about the Hall of Fame inductions. And you're going in at I guess, right before kickoff, and then, of course, they're going to announce you guys at halftime. How cool is it that your dad's about to be part of the TISD Athletic Hall of Fame?
Oh, well, he's a hero in this town, no doubt about it. I mean, always has been. Grew up here, you know, played sports here. You know, then he had 2 boys that came through here, supported them like nobody's business. I mean, and had some success as well. So, you know, it all started with this guy right here. From what's coming through and what you're seeing in 1986 with Chad, 1988 with me, last year with Mason, and then the next couple of years with Rhett Parker. So he's set a legacy that has lived on for 3 generations that you know, we're still looking toward, you know, here in 2016. So it's unbelievable that this guy right here got it started in a different sport, not only golf but basketball as well.
I was going to ask you a little bit about that too.
It's amazing.
So do you still have the clubs? You still have the
yeah,
clubs at one
I don't
state?
play very much anymore, but I still got them and watch it on TV and follow it in that way.
What was, I mean, golf is such an interesting sport because, I mean, it's a team game. Everybody has to shoot low. What was kind of the feelings about the team and the guys as you're going into the state tournament? Because Lee, that's the one time. Lee went to state, I think about 4 or 5, 6 years ago when I was covering them in golf, but it's tough to get the job done. Talk to me about just what you guys were able to accomplish.
Well, that was 57 years ago, and I can remember we were close. We grew up together, these 4 guys. We were dear friends, remained dear friends, played tons of golf then and in the recent years. And we went up there, we were representing Robert E. Lee. We represented Tyler, but to us, we were representing Robert E. Lee. And we were so pleased that we were able to win. And the town was so kind and to us and appreciative of us that it was just an experience that even at 17, it meant a lot to me and has never left my mind.
Well, fantastic. You're about to have to go on the field, so I'm going to let you go here in a second. But I just want to let's get these names out: T.C. Hamilton, Steve Norse, Jerry Parker, and Ronnie Roan. Guys, that's fantastic. Congratulations on being inducted into the TIC Athletic Hall of Fame.
Thank you very much.
Hopefully, we're shaking hands because your son's gonna bring Robbie Lee a victory. I know you guys are going to be excited about that. I talked to Coach Holmes. He's very confident, and I've talked to Coach George. He's cautiously optimistic.
Right.
so guys, I'm just
dynamically opposed.
I've enjoyed just meeting with you guys, and good luck tonight, and hopefully it's another memorable Rose City rivalry between Robert E. Lee and John Tyler.
We're looking for
Thank
some
you very
good
much,
things
guys.
tonight. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you very much, guys.
You bet.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
We'll be back at on the ETFinalScore.com live road show from Christus Trinity Mother Francis Rose Stadium at the Rose City Rivalry.
I gotta give this.
Mole Masters is excited to be the presenting sponsor of the 2016 ETFinalScore.com Roadshow. Mole Masters is a professional, local, family-owned pest control company that is here to serve you. Contact us at 903-287-0999 to tackle mosquitoes, moles, gophers, armadillos, or any other pests. Mole Masters is your #1 defense and will help you take your yard back. Call us today at 903-287-0999.
ETFinalScore.com has East Texas high school sports covered. And now you can take it with you. Get the latest scores from Friday Night Football, articles and videos. Focus in on .me photo galleries and more. So don't miss a thing and get your ETFinalScore.com app today.
I'm very excited. I'm excited for these kids. I know it means a lot to the city. It means a lot to the kids. They've grown up playing against these guys. When you have two schools in the same town, they've played each other since they're in grade school, and it ought to be an exciting game, and it's an exciting challenge for us this week. It's not tough for us to get caught up in it. We're trying to focus on winning one football game. Our goal is always to win the next game. Nobody promised or said that goal doesn't vary depending on your record. It's always next game up, and this game, happens to be week 10, and our focus is always to win the next game. That's what we're counting on doing this week. Well, they're a very good football team. Got very talented, and they put their opponents in those situations. So that's a credit to them not being in maybe those situations where they've had to come back necessarily. They've always put their opponent, where they might be playing catch up. So it's important that we do, follow our game plan, execute, and take care of Lee, which is the same focus we have for every single game. They're playing great team defense. They've improved as the year's gone on. They look to be very well coached, which I know they are, and gap sound and control. You can tell they're very responsible in doing what they're coached to do. But fly to the football, and here in the last few weeks of district have had some key turnovers and have scored on defense. So anytime your defense is scoring points for you, that's always good. But they do a good job on the defensive side of the ball. Yeah, he's one of the best we faced, if not the best quarterback we faced. A dual threat. It's very live arm, very accurate, passing the ball. But of course is equally as dangerous with his feet. If the pocket breaks down or if it's scramble, he's made a lot of people hurt, on it with his feet, and that's what the good quarterbacks can do. The ones that are true dual threats. He's definitely a true dual threat quarterback, and we'll have to try to contain him to be able to be in this ball game. We've got to play a full game, and we have to start out fast. You can't start out in any football game and testing the waters. You got to come out full throttle, and our kids are preparing for that. We're preparing for that as coaches. So we're excited for kickoff and excited to get out there and look forward to giving everything we got to get a win.
Here with John Tyler, Coach Ricklin Holmes after a 69-22 win over Mesquite Horn. Coach, talk about your team coming out on senior night and really putting on a show.
They're starting to play John Tyler football. Kids are starting to understand what they need to do as a unit to get things done and to come out with victories like we did today. 69-22 is a big win against a great Mesquite Horn team that has been putting up some big numbers on a lot of different folks. And today we came out and we played John Tyler style football with John Tyler football players.
Coming into this game, Mesquite Horn has averaged 50 points in district games. Then you guys shut them out in the second half. What was the key to that?
Got to do with our defense.
Coach Anderson and defensive staff are doing a great job preparing those kids to do what they need to do on the field to stop great quarterbacks like they have over there, to match up against great receivers like they have over there. So, hats off to those guys, the way they're starting to practice, the way they're starting to perform on a week-in, week-out basis. That's something that you can hang your hat on.
It was a 12-point game at halftime, and you guys come out, and Victor Campbell comes up with a big fumble recovery. How big was that for you guys?
Victor's starting to be a little guy that we can start to look for to make some plays. He made some big plays on offense. He came up with that big fumble on a special team. So, a guy like that, you want to see him have some success because of the work that he's been putting in and knowing that, that's what it takes. That's what it takes to be that type of football player, to be that type of person, to help your teammates out and do what you need to do to help us as an overall unit.
You guys were shorthanded in a few areas. Then you bring Mosley in at receiver and have some other guys step up. Talk about the depth of this team tonight.
That's what we try to create, having our guys go on both sides of the ball. You got a probably 80% Damien Miller. You got a 70%, Michael Givens. You got to bring guys in, and it starts in practice, getting those guys the reps. That's why, we split our practice up the way that we do, with an offense and a defensive practice, so that kids can get that time to practice on both sides of the ball so we can create that depth, because we don't have just one unit guys. We got guys that play on both sides and they create depth.
Overall, what impressed you most here on senior night?
Well, first thing is, how the guys played. Love how they responded to my halftime adjustment as far as what I told them I needed done to come out. That's a big moment. Not only for me, but it's a big moment for this team and for me to understand the type of team that I have right now, the type of coaching staff that I have right now that's willing to do what it takes to get it done.
And now just Robert E. Lee standing in the way of a district title. Just talk about the position you are in now. Have you clinched a playoff spot?
We're still in the driver's seat. We clinched that playoff spot, but we hadn't clinched that district title yet. And we got to win next Friday to clinch that district title.
Thanks, Coach. That'll do it here from Rose Stadium. John Tyler defeats Mesquite Horn 69-22 and clinches a playoff spot. Here with John Tyler's Damien Miller. Talk about that pick six he had tonight and the just what were you seeing on that play?
When I caught it in my hands, well, first when they ran the route, they did the first one I scored on, and I was cautioned for them to do it again. And when I seen it, I triggered on it, and I caught the pick, and I took it to the house.
How badly did you want that?
I want that real bad. I did all the technique. I looked the ball in, and when I caught it, I just went straight downfield.
Almost had another one. It looked like it slipped through your hands.
But that one, they kind of jammed my hand. And the first one I could have had, I couldn't move my left arm.
Well, talk about the offense tonight. 69 points, if you include your touchdown. What was going well for you guys?
I mean, the offense, we've been working on this all week. We've been really practicing real hard all week about the offense because we kind of changed some things. You see, we had some different players going in. We kept switching people out, and we were just getting ready for this big game.
And the defense as well, pitching a second-half shutout. How good were they?
Oh, man, our defense, same thing. Our defense, we've been really going over the defense because they got the OU quarterback in the backfield who can throw the ball real good, and we were just really worrying about the routes they was running, and we did real good on them.
Being a Texas commit, getting a pick six on an OU commit, how good was that?
It felt good because, OU and Texas are big rivals, so it kind of felt good.
And now you guys clinched playoff spot, only Robert E. Lee standing between you and a district title. How you guys feeling about next week?
Oh, we feel real good. I mean, we're not going to sleep on nobody, but you know how Lee has been having kind of a bad season, so we feel real good about winning out this district.
Thanks so much. That's Damien Miller after John Tyler defeated Mesquite Horn 69-22.
Welcome back to Christus Trinity Mother Francis Rose Stadium, the ETFinalScore.com Roadshow. We are about 25 minutes away from kickoff. They are now showing the TISD Athletic Hall of Fame inductions going on right behind me. You see the John Tyler Brigadettes. They're getting ready to rock and roll. They're getting ready to get on the field. We are so close to game time, and I'm joined by our gracious sponsor from Mole Masters, Michael Farnham. Michael, first of all, thank you very much for taking a chance on us. And what do you think so far about just being here in this atmosphere in this ball game?
It's a very lively group. You know, I think there's going to be somebody who's going to win tonight. That's for sure.
Well, I mean, have you had a chance to be a part of these games in the past?
I went to some games. I am a Robert E. Lee. That's where I graduated from in high school. So
when'd you graduate?
2001.
Okay, so you pretty much graduated whenever Robert E. Lee was kind of the tide had turned, and they were really winning these games pretty handily.
The year after that, we got the state championship for sure.
What's it been like being a fan this year, because with the new coaching staff and seeing the losses in the newspaper and just kind of seeing how close they've come? How's it been for being a fan of Robert E. Lee and a graduate?
I mean, you're going to stay a fan always. You know, you're going to stay a fan. There's room for improvement for sure, and I think that the team is developing. You know, with the new staff, and I think it's going to take a little while to get it down. But once they get it down, I think Robert E. Lee's going to be really well.
Cool. Enough talk about football. Let's talk about Mole Masters. What are some of the things that you can provide for customers that give you a call? 903-287-0999.
Well, obviously, we do moles and gophers for sure. That's where
you need to come to my house. My front yard is out of control, and I'm not making that up.
Tis the season. Tis the season. All right. We do pest control. We do, we pretty much any kind of pest control. We mainly focus on moles, gophers. We do mosquito control. We install state-of-the-art mosquito misting systems. And we also do any type of pest control that you have. We're fully licensed and insured for any type of pest control, whether it's termite pest or lawn ornamental. We have a license for all that, so we take care of it. As far as animal trapping, we do all that as well. And we've had a lot of great techniques and a lot of equipment and new traps that I've made myself that have made a big difference in the industry as far as I'm concerned. There's not too many businesses like Mole Masters, so we've there's not really much to look at to be able to design your business off of. So it's been a work in progress, but we're doing actually really well now, and everyone knows us, and we take real good care of Tyler. As far as the city of Tyler, we do a lot of different things. So so there's a lot of stuff that we do. We're not a one just mole and gopher business. We do a lot of different things.
Well, fantastic. Final question. I'm gonna put you on the spot. What do you think? You're on John Tyler's sideline, but John Tyler, you're a Robert E. Lee graduate. You got Coach Holmes walking behind you right now. What do you think? Is Robert Lee gonna pull this off, or is John Tyler gonna win this game?
Hey, I don't know. I think John Tyler's gonna win, but I'm a Robert E. Lee fan. That's where I went to school. I hope for the best.
You're hoping for the best.
Hoping for the best.
Hoping for the best.
But anyone can win. Anything can happen.
Cool. I appreciate it. We've got your lovely children up here with us. Guys, we're live. Chris's Trinity Mother Francis Rose Stadium, ETFinalScore.com Roadshow, sponsored by Mole Masters, and we will be right back.
Thank you.
Mole Masters is excited to be the presenting sponsor of the 2016 ETFinalScore.com Roadshow. Mole Masters is a professional, local, family-owned pest control company that is here to serve you. Contact us at 903-287-0999 to tackle mosquitoes, moles, gophers, armadillos, or any other pests. Mole Masters is your #1 defense and will help you take your yard back. Call us today at 903-287-0999.
ETFinalScore.com has East Texas high school sports covered. And now you can take it with you. Get the latest scores from Friday Night Football, articles and videos. Focus in on Damien photo galleries and more. So don't miss a thing and get your ETFinalScore.com app today.
This is Trinity Mother Friend of the ETFinalScore.com Roadshow. My name's Chris Perry. I've had a fantastic time. We've had loads of guests. We've had coaches. We've had analysts. We've had everything going on. It's been fantastic. But this is not the only game that's going on in the Rose in Tyler right now, and really in Smith County in general. Go to ETFinalScore.com. Check out our scoreboard. We've got all the games covered. There's going to be so many different things. Right now, you have White House against Lindale. That game is for a playoff spot. You have Jacksonville going to Nacogdoches. That game is also for a playoff spot. And I'm saying, all right, guys, I can sit here right now as I'm at the desk, and I can scroll through our games. And I mean, we've got a lot of good football games to go after. Kilgore's at Bullard. That's going to be kind of interesting. I'm really interested though in these two 5A ball games, because Jacksonville had a chance to clinch a playoff spot. Didn't quite get the job done. Now they got to go on the road to Nacogdoches, which is, I covered when I was Robert E. Lee played Nacogdoches earlier this season. It was a really, really, really difficult ball game, and Nacogdoches won the thing, and they did it with defense, and just did it by kind of overpoweringly in the second half. That's going to be the job, just the defense, and then they've kind of hit a bit of a roadblock. Lindale was really kind of stuck in neutral. Now they've won a ball game, and now they win one more, and they're in the playoffs. Really, guys, just plenty of stuff. Our hashtag is ETFinalScore. Actually, it's ETFS Roadshow is our hashtag. But if you want to go to Twitter, it's at ETFinalScore. You're going to have Travis Yoasting at TYoasting ETFS. If you want to talk to me, it's at C Perry ETFS. We have been thrilled to bring you this pregame for the Rose City rivalry. We're about to sign off here in about a couple seconds, but come back at halftime with me. I'll be joined by Kenny Smith. We'll be talking halftime. We'll be talking statistics. We'll talk a little bit about some play-by-play, some things that took place, and we'll get you ready for the second half. And then after the ball game, I'll be back interviewing the winning team, maybe the winning coaches, and we're just going to have a good time tonight. We just want to say thanks for tuning in, and we look to see you at halftime on the ETFinalScore.com Roadshow, sponsored by Mole Masters. He is a member of the
Mole Masters is excited to be the presenting sponsor of the 2016 ETFinalScore.com Roadshow. Mole Masters is a professional, local, family-owned pest control company that is here to serve you. Contact us at 903-287-0999 to tackle mosquitoes, moles, gophers, armadillos, or any other pests. Mole Masters is your #1 defense and will help you take your yard back. Call us today at 903-287-0999.